So it's got three components. There's the Somali ethnic bloodline component that we've just been discussing. And they do have an alternative moral system. They don't see what they're doing as stealing. They see it as helping family and helping the bloodline. And so if there's this alien, weak system that is dishing out money, if you don't take it, you're stupid. And also the assumption is we're not the only ones who would be doing such a thing. All smart people would be doing that.
I'm Dave Rubin, and joining me today is the founder of the Ayaan Hirsi Ali Foundation and the host of the Ayaan Hirsi Ali podcast. Ayaan Hirsi Ali, I've said your name 3 times in the first sentence. How are you, my friend?
Oh, Dave, I'm doing very well. It's lovely to see you and speak to you. And yeah, great.
Well, it is always a pleasure to see and speak to you. And, we connected for 30 seconds before we started recording here. And you said something like, we're old friends in this at this point, which seems kind of crazy. I mean, I think I interviewed you for the first time probably fall of 2015. So we're rolling into our 11th year together. You have been fighting for Western freedom since well beyond that. But I thought maybe for some of my audience that is not totally familiar with you, and they should be, and we'll link to all your books below and everything else. There's so much talk about Somalia these days, and I think people are so confused about the history of Somalia, the American Somali population. We talk about Ilhan Omar all the time. Can you just clean up some of that, perhaps, and maybe connect it to a little bit of your personal journey, and then we can dive into some of the issues of the day?
And don't forget Somaliland, and they want independence, and I think it's a good thing, and so on.
Yeah.
Yes. I was born in Somalia in November of 1969, and Somalia became independent in 1960, and independent from British Somaliland. That is the region that now wants to become independent, and then there was an Italian Somaliland. And that's where my father comes from, and also that's where I was born. But I was born after independence. And, as I don't know how familiar your audience is with African history, but usually after independence, people have these incredibly high hopes of building nation states that will thrive and that, hold all of these different clans together and different tribes. And for Somalia, that didn't materialize after the white man left. Because soon after, my father was one of the people who wanted to make a Somalia that looked a little bit like America. You come in and, you have founding fathers that designed this beautiful constitution and lay down these pillars, and everybody's going to subscribe to that, and we'll build this great nation state. That's not what happened. In October of 1969, the Soviet Union, I would say, pretty much marches in by using a local Somali sergeant. And ever since, it's been chaos. So I was born into that upheaval. But within these great power politics mix of, the two, during the Cold War, the two hemispheres, Soviet Union versus United States, in Somalia, what predated and still goes through and is the permanent, I would say, feature of Somalia is the bloodline. It's the clan. And I remember being 5, 6, 7 years old, and my grandmother sitting my siblings and I down under a tree and teaching us our clan line. That's like your passport. I am Ayaan, the daughter of Hirsi, who is the son of, and so on and so on. And every child is taught that. That is your welfare state. That is your benefit state. That's who you fight for and who you die for. That's your identity. And to supplement that identity was Islam. And what happened in Somalia, as in many other different parts in the world, was from about the 1980s, petro-Islamism came into our shores. And there was an attempt to reverse things so that where Islam supplements the clan bloodline, it became now that the clan supplements the bloodline. In that sense, I don't know who's prevailing at the moment, but there is this, everything that the clan holds dear, Islam enforces anyway. So when I was a little girl, I didn't have to wear the hijab, but little 5-year-olds today in Somalia wear the hijab. Maybe that's the difference. It's an Islamization in a society that was already clan, bloodline oriented and Muslim.
Right. And then, sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to say fast forward because my father was modernized. He went to Columbia University. He didn't just accept this coup of Mohammed Siad Barre in 1969. He went into exile and mobilized other men and decided to fight him. And this was occurring in Ethiopia, which then forced my mother and my siblings and my mother's mother to leave the country. So I've been exposed to, besides Somalia, I was in Saudi Arabia with my siblings. We lived in Ethiopia and we lived in Kenya. And during that time that we were living in the diaspora, we were looked after by the clans. That's just, I just want to illustrate that is how the clan system, how the bloodline works. When people ask me, how did you pay your rent? Where did you get food from? Who did this for you? And wherever we go, there are Somalis. And if I meet you today, I'm not just going to say, hey, your name is Dave Rubin. I'm going to ask, you are the son of who? And you're going to say, you're the daughter of who? And then we try and track the bloodline, and we'll get somewhere when we maybe trust one another and help one another, or maybe we'll get to a place where we keep our distance and, we feel that there's a sense of tension and animosity. And that's how it works.
So there's so much there that I think connects to what's going on right now. We don't have to tell the rest of your story at the moment, and again, we'll link to some of those earlier interviews. But you're ultimately fleeing and eventually becoming a member of parliament in Holland, and then your friend Theo van Gogh being killed with a threat to you, and then subsequently over the last decade plus becoming an unbelievable fighter for Western values and individual rights and freedom and all of those things. But I want to focus on the clan thing for a moment because there's a video from probably 3 or 4 months ago where Ilhan Omar is on, who obviously is Somalian, where she's on stage and she supported Jacob Frey, not the Somali who was running against him, although he, I think, in some sense thinks he's Somali or something like that. And she started talking about the clans that had betrayed her. I suppose you're not that surprised that they've imported this type of thinking into America when you hear something like that?
Oh, no, I'm not surprised at all. It's not that they imported. That is just how it functions. You cannot have, 70,000 to 80,000 people from Somalia living in Minnesota and not have a clan dynamic. It's all determined and ruled by the clan dynamic. What surprises and amuses me is that Jacob Frey decided to assimilate into the clan.
Is that possible? Is he the first one that ever did it?
No, he's not the first one. But anyway, he's decided he was going to assimilate into the clan. He probably thinks he's very clever. But he doesn't understand that this is another form of dancing with the devil where he's going to be fried, as in Fried.
Right. So, okay. So can you talk a bit about, there's a lot of focus now on these roughly 80,000 people in Minnesota and obviously what's going on with ICE and everything else. And so there's the fraud element of it. There's some element connected to illegal immigration, although a lot of the Somalis are legal, obviously, through Barack Obama. But what do you make of the whole situation right now that's happening, that's unfolding in Minnesota?
So it's got 3 components. There's the Somali ethnic bloodline component that we've just been discussing. And they do have an alternative moral system. They don't see what they're doing as stealing. They see it as helping family and helping the bloodline. And so if there's this alien, weak system that is dishing out money, if you don't take it, you're stupid. And also the assumption is we're not the only ones who would be doing such a thing. All smart people would be doing that. I wrote a piece on in the Free Press where I cite Edward Ban, who's just, he's trying to explain to Americans about what he calls he calls it amoral familism, and this orientations towards the clan or the in-group at the cost of everything else. It's not unique to Somalis. I think it's probably once upon a time it was universal. But it cannot coexist within the nation state because the nation state is modern and the clan bloodline system is not just pre-modern, it's anti-modern. So there's that aspect of it, is that clan.
Mm-hmm.
And within that is another circle, which is the Muslim Brotherhood and the presence of the Muslim Brotherhood in America, dedicated to transforming America, Islamizing it from within. That's what they say. The way they do it, and they want to go about it, by bringing Muslim communities and turning them into these ethnic blocs that are Islamist and that will vote the way they tell them to vote, and will be this demographic representation. And then there's a third layer, which is amazingly the Democratic Party, which has created this business model, electoral business model, that they don't want to go and persuade voters about the programs they have in mind. They want to do the exact same thing as what the Muslim Brotherhood is doing, which is pump every state with just enough ethnic voter blocs to vote for them in exchange for providing them with benefits. And none of these three groups, the ethnic Somalis, the Muslim Brotherhood, or the Democratic Party, seem to think that that money comes from somewhere. Taxpayers, you and me, do you think we want to finance our demise? That's exactly what's going on. And so there's this conspiracy. That's not a conspiracy, but it is this, collusion.
If you're craving more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics, check out our politics playlist right here. And if you don't want to miss any future videos, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.